Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders are signing Ja'Cory Brooks to the practice squad. They are also bringing back another familiar face in Sam Hartman. So we'll break that down in today's video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. Let's get right into it. So the Commanders' final 53-man roster was done yesterday. Obviously, that's the first edition of that, so it will change with time, whether someone gets hurt. Hopefully that doesn't happen, or they like someone that was available, or whatever. Things change, of course. Also, I do want to say rest in peace to Rick Snyder, who was a Washington Redskins reporter, and then recently Commanders for a long time, I think over 30-40 years. So praying for him and his family, wishing nothing but the best for him, and hopefully the Commanders can get him a Super Bowl win this year. So yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks, he's on the practice squad, and I think that makes a lot of people happy. I know a lot of people wanted him on the roster and the 53-man roster, and I did too, but it was kind of expected he wasn't going to make it. I predicted he didn't make it, and he's back on the practice squad, so maybe some people thought he was going to get claimed. He didn't. Actually, no Washington Commanders player got claimed, so you would like, obviously sometimes it sucks when players get claimed, but that means you have good depth, and, the Commanders, we kind of saw in the preseason, part of it was the offense, the quarterback's fault, but the depth wasn't good, especially the low tier depth. Like maybe you could say the backups were fine, but we're talking like 40 to 53 on the Commanders roster, and then obviously 40 to 90. They did not play well. So those guys. There's a reason why a lot of those guys did not get cut or did not get claimed. The Commanders didn't have a single guy get claimed. I think last year, they had a KJ Henry who was claimed, but besides that, they didn't have anyone claimed, and this year definitely didn't have anyone claimed. So that's the goal, honestly. The good teams have a lot of guys claimed. Like the Ravens had 2 or 3 minimum get claimed, so that's the goal. So you hate to lose these players, but it does mean you have a really good roster, at least depth wise, if you're cutting players that are getting claimed. So that's the goal for the Commanders in the future, is to continue to hit on some of these draft picks and stuff like that. This is not Adam Peters' fault. He got here last year, the roster was not good, and it takes time to completely rebuild, and getting guys like Ja'Cory Brooks is going to help if you can start to develop them, and maybe next year he is doing a lot better than he is now, which he still did pretty well, and maybe they cut him, maybe they keep him, but maybe if he gets cut, he gets claimed. So it just shows you have good depth. And so Ja'Cory Brooks, he's back. That's good. I would say he's going to be on the not on the 53, he's going to be on the practice squad, and he'll be one of the first guys up if something happens, or even if something doesn't happen and they just want to call up a receiver for the game. I think Ja'Cory will be the first guy that they call up. Maybe one of the other vets. I don't know exactly who's on the practice squad right now, vets wise. I know Chris Moore got signed there, but I'd much rather have Ja'Cory Brooks as the receiver who gets called up than Chris Moore. I know Chris Moore is a vet and everything, and he can play special teams, but Ja'Cory has much better hands and much better potential. Sam Hartman, I know people aren't going to be happy about it, but he's on the practice squad. I think we all knew it was going to happen. I told you guys it was going to happen, unless he got claimed, and that wasn't going to happen after his preseason performance. I don't mind it. Practice squad guy, a lot of these guys aren't super valuable, like, the 16th, 17th guy. Like, it's not like we could have gotten such and such player. You know what I'm saying? So Sam Hartman being on the squad, purely vibes-wise is, good in my opinion, in terms of the vibes. And obviously, you can get that elsewhere, with him on the coaching staff and stuff like that. But he also does know the system and stuff like that. So you can have a guy that can run the scout team offense pretty well, and hopefully he does get that shoulder injury. He continues to recover from that, because I do think that affected his play this past year, because I thought he was way better last year than he was this offseason. He was awful this offseason. So, this season and this preseason, I think will be his last chance to really prove, all right, can I stick around even as a practice squad quarterback or as a third string quarterback? This is his last chance. And they kept Josh Johnson on the roster. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I think that is wasting a roster spot, because I think you could have, maybe they thought Josh Johnson was going to get claimed. I highly doubt that. I think he would have went unclaimed. They could have kept him on the practice squad for sure. But they obviously know a lot more than me and have way more information on what the other teams are going to do. But I also think there's other quarterbacks available that they could have went after, like Tyler Huntley, Snoop Huntley from the Browns, played for the Ravens. He was available. The Ravens brought him back on the practice squad, but the Commanders could have just claimed him and had him as a guy in the 53. I guess I don't think he would have been on the waivers, but they could have just signed him to the 53-man roster. They still can. I think that's better than Josh Johnson. But Sam Hartman, really good boys with Jaden and some of the other guys, and like I said, can help run the scout team offense. But I understand he's not good. They're giving him another chance just because a lot of the practice squad is guys that they're familiar with, and that if they do need someone to come in that can know whether it's the offense or the defense, they can bring that guy up. So hopefully we never have to see Sam Hartman in a Commanders game, really ever, but especially this season when he's coming off that shoulder surgery and just not playing well. Whether that has to do with the shoulder surgery or not, we know he's just not playing well, and you don't want him in games. But it is what it is. Happy for him getting back on the squad, and he'll still be chilling with Jade and everything. If he doesn't improve, I could definitely see the Commanders maybe having him on some sort of role next year as like a quality control coach, maybe assistant quarterbacks down the line, and that could also be a good way to do it as well. But again, I understand why people don't absolutely love this move. Let's see any other stuff. We'll go ahead and see right here what Ben Stanek has to say just on some of the other practice squad signings. It's all so far all the main guys that we've had on the actual 90-man roster. So talked about Sam Hartman, talked about Ja'Cory Brooks, got Carlin Vigors. Not a huge fan of him in terms of what he did in the preseason. Was missing a lot of tackles and coverage wasn't great, but signed him as an undrafted free agent. He got paid a decent amount, so they keep him. And then let's see any other. Let's go to John Keim, because I know John Keim has a lot of them. He talked about Chris Moore. I believe Robert McDaniel is on the squad too. Yeah, Chris Moore, Carlin Vigors, and Robert McDaniel are all on the squad. So the practice squad. So they get 17 guys. Most teams get 16. They get 17 because of the International Pathway Program. So they get a free practice squad guy. Why wouldn't you have him on the team? Jacoby Jones headed to the practice squad, so UCF wide receiver. He's on the squad. Mostly offensive players so far. Andre Jones just signed to the Buffalo practice squad. So, I don't think that's a big loss, but shout out to him. Again, hopefully he does well there because, he's a 7th-round pick and he's stuck around for a little while here in Washington. And, Ron Rivera pick there. But most of the guys that are on the squad so far, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 out of 6 are offensive players. So, that's kind of it there. So, 2/3 of the players, offensive players. We'll see the rest because, again, they got 17 guys that are going to be on the practice squad. I'll check my phone in a second here. But overall, it's going to be most of the same guys. I will probably make separate videos for any new guys that they bring in that we don't really know, because there might be 1 or 2 of those guys. And just checking my phone, making sure nothing here is new, that they didn't sign anyone else to the practice squad. There are some good players available. Kendrick Bourne is available. There's a lot of decent guys that they could help out this team pretty quickly. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, notification bell as well. Peace.